Alrighty, we are live. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the Law Entrance YouTube channel and to another session of the Hindu analysis. Today is 26th of June, a lovely Thursday evening, and we are ready to start. How many of you are here on the stream live? Can I have some responses in the chat box? I can see XYG, I can see Adrija, I can see Balu, I can see Priyanshi. Very good evening, guys. Welcome to the class. Let's start today's discussion. Let's look at the agenda of the day. Kavya is here, Nirali is here. Good evening, guys. All right, people are slowly joining in. The three topics of discussion which we have today are these. Today's newspaper is also pretty boring, I would say. Nothing new, nothing fancy, nothing which we have not discussed yet. So we'll do whatever is relevant and see what are the articles which we can discuss. The first and the foremost news we all know is finally the exam for mission has left for the International Space Station, which makes this person X to be the first Indian going to the ISS. Who is the person X जिसके बारे में मैं बात कर रहा हूँ आप लोग मुझे चैट बॉक्स में जल्दी से बताओ who am I talking about? Who's the Indian person on the exam for mission? And the second answer which I want from you is how many people are in that spacecraft, the Falcon 9 spacecraft, which has left for the International Space Station? Number of people. ठीक है. The next is an editorial article which talks about voting rights for migrants. Primarily, this talks about voters of Bihar. And then there is another article which talks about human rights and citizenship. और भी articles हैं. One of the articles again talks about caste census. One of the articles again talk about the ISS. One of the articles talk about how a governor used the picture of Bharat Mata instead of the nationally recognized symbols like the Ashoka emblem and multiple other symbols. So that is what is up for discussion today. Another important news which we have today is related to the resumption, the restarting of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. So that is also something which we'll talk about. These are the 5-6 articles which we're going to discuss today. And then, of course, the vocabulary for the day. 4 people is correct answer. Shubhanshu Shukla is also the correct answer. All right, ठीक है. चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं आज का डिस्कशन. वेस्ट एशिया पे भी एक आर्टिकल है काव्य, you're absolutely right. वो भी डिस्कस कर लेंगे, ठीक है. Okay, let me just quickly present the newspaper for you all. रोज रोज सेम सेम चीज आती है न्यूज़पेपर में तो फिर थोड़ा सा बोरियत हो जाता है, पर ठीक है, जो करना है वो करना है. Alright, I hope the newspaper is visible to all of you. In a historic leap, Indian astronaut heads to ISS. We all know we are talking about Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who has made the country proud by being a part of this mission, the Exam 4 mission, which has left from the Kennedy Space Center, which is in Florida, which is in USA. And this is a mission which is in collaboration with NASA, in collaboration with SpaceX. And the purpose of this mission is going to the International Space Station and conduct some tests, conduct some research, see how humans are operating in space. And this would be a 14-day long mission. So they were ideally supposed to reach the ISS today in the evening, must have reached by now. मैंने फ़ोन पे अभी बात नहीं करी है, अभी क्लास के बाद कॉल करके पूछूंगा ठीक ठाक पहुंच गए कि नहीं पहुंच गए वो लोग. But jokes apart, this is a mission which has been postponed quite a few times, but finally it has taken its launch yesterday, and they have finally supposedly reached the International Space Station, which is the largest man-made structure in space. Shubhanshu Shukla के साथ 3 लोग और हैं. There's Commander Peggy Whitson, who's representing NASA. There is Mission Specialist Slavos Wisniewski, ऐसे करके कुछ नाम है उनका, जो पोलैंड से हैं. There is Mission Specialist Tibor Kapu, who is from Hungary. तो ये 4 नाम आपको याद करने हैं. It's important that you remember these names because this is a really relevant topic from a CLAT perspective, right? And although there are only four representatives, लेकिन ये जो science experiments conduct किए जाएंगे, there would be approximately 60 science experiments which this mission would carry out, and 31 countries are concerned with this scientific research, this educational outreach, these commercial activities, जो भी सारी चीजें होने वाली है. So whenever we get the next update कि उन्होंने क्या क्या activities करी, we'll definitely keep on talking about them. ठीक है जी. On the other side, you see GST Council set to discuss having fewer items in the 12% slab. तो ये जो है 12% अलग अलग स्लैब्स होते हैं ना जीएसटी के, जैसे 5%, 12%, 18%. सो दे आर थिंकिंग दैट 12% वाले स्लैब में से कुछ चीज़ें कम करके हम 5% में डाल दें, कुछ चीज़ें 18% में डाल दें. एंड क्या क्या चीज़ें डाली जाएंगी उस पर तो अभी कोई क्लैरिटी नहीं आई है, बट दे वुड हैव अ मीटिंग द जीएसटी काउंसिल एंड देन दे वुड डिसाइड. Okay, moving ahead, city-based news is not important for us, so we'll skip right past. State-based news: Kerala government urged Raj Bhavan to use constitutional symbols at functions. This is the issue जिस पे आज एक editorial article भी आया है. As you can see, LDF describes as the RSS Hindu nationalist depiction of Mother India at functions attended by Kerala governor. This is problematic. The event was organized by Kerala University, and this has now triggered a new controversy. मतलब क्या ही बोला जाए, कुछ प्रोडक्टिव काम कर लें हमारे नेता लोग, क्या क्या करते रहते हैं, छोटी छोटी बातों पर लड़ते रहते हैं. एनीवे, अकाली लीडर मजीठिया अरेस्टेड ओवर ड्रग मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग. ओके, political science meets politics, this is not important. Nitish calls Black Day of emergency. BJP leaders say democracy flourishing now. So, what was emergency? This was the national emergency which was declared by the Indira Gandhi government. In which year? In the year 1975. So, it's been 50 years of the imposition of the emergency. It was declared on 25th of June 1975, which is sort of regarded as a black day in the history of India, because what happens in an emergency is your fundamental rights are sort of called off. So, do you understand the implication of fundamental rights being called off? One of the fundamental rights is right to life and personal liberty. And if it is called off, if it is not available anymore, that means anyone and the state can take your life and personal liberty at their own whims and fancies. So that is why the emergency is sort of looked at as a black chapter, as a black spot in Indian history, in Indian jurisprudence. And that is what the opposition is charging upon. That is what they are you know, pouncing upon in terms of how Congress did that, and BJP leaders have now an opportunity to say that democracy is now flourishing under their rule. But is it flourishing? That is really a question to ask. But anyway, wow, I sounded like a news anchor when I said that. Anyway, दूसरी साइड से बीजेपी, द कांग्रेस इज सेइंग दैट इमरजेंसी तो चलो जो थी वो थी, अब 11 ईयर्स से वी आर इन एन अनडिक्लेयर्ड इमरजेंसी, यानी डिक्लेयर नहीं किया है बट हालात हमारे इमरजेंसी जैसे हैं, ऐसा कांग्रेस वाली साइड ने कहा है. ठीक है, तो या ये तो पॉलिटिकल जुमलेबाजी चलती रहती है, बट हमारे लिए क्या इम्पोर्टेंट है? हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के किस आर्टिकल में मेंशन है नेशनल इमरजेंसी का, वो आप लोग मुझे चैट बॉक्स में बताओ. विच आर्टिकल ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टॉक्स अबाउट national emergency? Tell me in the chat box very quickly. Idea is saying thank you so much sir. किस बात का थैंक यू कर रहे हो आप मुझे, बट जिस भी बात का कर रहे हो चलो मैंने रख लिया. यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम. Gopinath is saying, isn't India performing poorly in the democracy index? I did not say that. You are saying it. We don't say that out loud. But anyway, yeah, you're right. Mehna is saying Keshwanand Bharti case has removed this provision, placing emphasis on the fact that fundamental rights are inalienable. You're correct. But emergency may, the government gets a lot of control and they can suspend your fundamental rights. That is why it was so controversial, right? It violated the basic structure doctrine. It tried to bypass the democratic provisions and the provisions of the constitution. That is why the whole controversy. Article 352 is the correct answer. 352 is national emergency. 356 is state emergency, also called as president's rule. And 360 is financial emergency. 355 is the responsibility of center to ensure peace and stability in the different states. So ये सारे important articles आपको पता होने चाहिए. Article 368 which is about amendment to the constitution. You need to know all of these important articles of the constitution. All right, moving ahead. आगे चलते हैं. This is all just politics. Today is International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. So let us unite to break the chains of addiction and build a bright future. नशे करना गलत बात है. नशे आप लोग मत करना. ड्रग्स मत लेना. लेने हो तो पकड़े मत जाना. Just kidding, मत लेना. Not good for health. Not good for anyone. Okay, down to the editorial section. Lofty concept. अच्छा हाँ, अगर ड्रग्स लेने की सोच रहे हो तो एक बार वो पढ़ लेना. एंटी ड्रग्स वाला जो एक्ट होता है, क्या नाम होता है यार, मैं नाम भूल गया उसका. सॉरी. नार्कोटिक्स साइकोट्रोपिक सब्सटेंसेस एक्ट, ऐसे कुछ करके नाम था, बट जो भी था, हमने लास्ट सेमेस्टर में पढ़ा था लॉ स्कूल के. एंड उसमें बेल नहीं मिलती, बहुत बहुत मुश्किल से बेल मिलती है इन केसेस ऑफ ड्रग्स. एंड मुझे नाम क्यों नहीं याद आ रहा उस एक्ट का. साइकोट्रोपिक सब्सटेंसेस, ड्रग्स, anyway, जो भी नाम था. The point is that you usually don't get a bail very easily in those cases. आप लोगों ने शायद आर्यन खान वाली controversy सुनी होगी. आर्यन खान who is शाहरुख खान's son who was caught in such a case. So yeah, वो काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सब्जेक्ट है ये वाला नार्कोटिक्स वाला. आप लोग पढ़ोगे लॉ स्कूल में आके, यूजुअली इन योर सेकेंड लास्ट ईयर और योर लास्ट ईयर. यूल अंडरस्टैंड कि कितनी क्वांटिटी पर्सनल क्वांटिटी मानी जाती है, कितनी क्वांटिटी कमर्शियल क्वांटिटी ऑफ ड्रग्स मानी जाती है. एंड ऑब्वियसली कमर्शियल क्वांटिटी के लिए द क्वांटम ऑफ पनिशमेंट इज मच मच हायर. सो यू गेट अ होल लिस्ट ऑफ ड्रग्स एंड यूल गेट टू नो सो मेनी ड्रग्स जिनके आपने शायद नाम भी ना सुने हो. फेंटनिल, कोकेन, ये सारे नाम तो आप लोगों ने सुने होंगे, बट there was a like proper 2-page glossary of the number of drugs which you have in that act. But anyway, point is कि NDPS, yes. Wow, कैसे भूल गया NDPS? Narcotics, drugs and psychotropic substances. Yes, absolutely correct. मैं बताऊँ, मेरे को narcotics याद था, मेरे को drugs भी याद था, मेरे को psychotropic substances भी याद था, but I did not put it together. But anyway, thank you for helping out. That is the act I was referring to. But anyway, moving on to our editorial section. A lofty concept, a governor, and unwanted controversy. Now, this is the whole वही भारत माता की पिक्चर यूज करने वाली controversy. अच्छा, ये जो भारत माता की पिक्चर है, ये आई कहाँ से? So this was first conceptualized by the son, I think son या nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, and it was popularized by her sister. I think her name was Nandita. And उसके बाद से this has been commonly used in public events and popular functions, but this is not a officially or constitutionally recognized national symbol, and that is why the whole controversy, that is why the clash between the governor as well as the state government कि भाई आपने राजभवन is the governor's residence, the official residence, right? जैसे प्रेसिडेंट का आपका रेसिडेंस होता है, वैसे गवर्नर का भी रेसिडेंस होता है, जिसको राजभवन कहते हैं. एंड वहाँ पे उन्होंने फोटो लगा दी थी भारत माता की, मदर इंडिया की, ड्यूरिंग अ रीसेंट ऑफिशियल फंक्शन, जिसमें देयर वाज अ वुमन हु वाज शोड इन अ सैफरन साड़ी होल्डिंग अ स्पीयर एंड विद अ लायन एंड अ map of India. So it sort of resembles the portrayal of Ma Durga, but somewhat in a nationalistic perspective, you could say like that. And government ने इस पे objection create किया, state government ने, saying that this is not a constitutionally recognized national symbol. जैसे you have your flag, you have your emblem, you have your anthem, all of these are nationally recognized. लेकिन ऐसी picture जो nationally recognized नहीं है from the constitution, उसको official government event में use करना appropriate नहीं है. ये image ऐसा state government ने बोला कि usually BJP और RSS use करता है, but they should not be a part of government functions. And if you look at it from a legal point of view, what does the law say? The law says that according to the constitution, the governor should act on the advice of the elected government and cannot make independent decisions regarding these official ceremonies or what would be the symbol used in this ceremony. So governor को essentially बात माननी पड़ेगी constitution के according. मैं आपको बता रहा था बैकग्राउंड ये भारत माता वाले थिंग का. दिस कॉन्सेप्ट सॉर्ट ऑफ इज ऑब्वियसली एन इमोशनल एंड सिंबॉलिक representation of the freedom struggle, but ऐसा कोई स्पेसिफिक इमेज डिजाइन नहीं करी गई थी. जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने डिस्क्राइब किया था भारत माता को एज द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया एंड नॉट अ गॉडेस लाइक फिगर. एंड अभी की जो इमेज यूज की जा रही है वो हमारे नेशनलिस्ट स्ट्रगल के टाइम की है, which, according to the author, does not represent the diverse and secular nature of modern India. India has a lot of other religions, a lot of tribals, a lot of communities, and using a picture which just depicts Devi, let's say, uh, according to the author, does not show the diverse and secular nature of modern India. एंड उसी पे ये सारी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो है चल रही है. ठीक है, आप लोग पढ़ सकते हो ये आर्टिकल. उतना ज़्यादा हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट तो नहीं है, बट ठीक है. See, here is the history. It was Abanindranath Tagore, the nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, who did a first painting of Banga Mata, which is now Bharat Mata. Mother of Bengal, it used to be, not Bharat Mata initially. And it was a symbol of Bengali nationalism. You know, Bengal was a epicenter of nationalism during the freedom struggle, especially in the early 1900s. 1905 में एक और बहुत historical event हुआ था. Can you guys tell me which historical event I'm talking about in terms of the Indian freedom struggle, in terms of the Indian national movement, right? So this depiction with four arms in some way resembled a Hindu goddess. It was Sister Nivedita, a prominent disciple of Swami Vivekananda, who popularized this painting as Bharat Mata, and later Bharat Mata ki Jai became a very powerful slogan of the national freedom struggle. And it still is a very powerful slogan. No harm in saying Bharat Mata ki Jai, but this is sort of against the constitution, is what the state government is alleging. Partition of Bengal is the correct answer. Lord Curzon ke supervision mein Bengal was partitioned into two different provinces, primarily on communal lines to create a divide between the Hindus and the Muslims, and आगे चल के separate electorates भी लेके आए गए थे 1909 में. So yeah, थोड़ा सा modern history भी आपको पता होना चाहिए. बांग्लादेश पार्टीशन तो 1971 में हुआ था काव्य. बंगाल का पार्टीशन हुआ था 1905 में. ठीक है, बांग्लादेश तो तब एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता था. एनीवे, मूविंग अहेड, दिस आर्टिकल इज सॉर्ट ऑफ डन. Right inside, on left hand side, we see Shukla's paid flight to ISS will provide insights on human space flight. This we already discussed. Pretty much the same things. Yeah, वही सारी बात है कि we would get a lot to learn from this particular mission. The axis of upheaval in the West Asian conflict. Now, this is an issue which we have talked way too many times in the past 10 days, but because there is an article, let's go through it once again. This is again the whole Iran Israel war and the ceasefire issue, the global power game which is going on, and how US is involved, how US did airstrikes, and then the Iranians did airstrikes. And Iran, as of now, is sort of in a lonely situation because they thought that they have close ties to Russia and China, but both the countries did not really come forward very enthusiastically to support Iran during the conflict. And although they have had deep ties historically, they did not even provide any military aid to Iran, despite Iran going through economic and political challenges. And as a क्यों that is what this article sort of explores, why Russia and China did not help Iran militarily. So Russia की अगर बात करें तो Russia is fighting its own war in Ukraine, and it no longer really has a strong military hold in the West Asian region, especially after the whole Syria controversy happened and it lost its influence in Syria. China, on the other hand, sort of is supporting Iran politically, but it also is looking at its economic interest and does not want to get into a direct conflict with a country like US, जिसके साथ अभी recently उनके relations उतने ज़्यादा अच्छे नहीं रहे हैं because of the whole tariff war, and now slowly they are coming to a stable, mutual partnership. So they don't want to disrupt that as well. And Iran is now left without any military alliances. काफ़ी सारी वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज हैं जिनके पास फॉर्मल मिलिट्री अलायंसेज हैं, जैसे नेटो हो गया, जैसे ईरान, रशिया, चाइना वगैरह. बट एज ऑफ नाउ ईरान इज नॉट रियली अ पार्ट ऑफ एनी ऑफिशियल मिलिट्री अलायंस, एंड उनकी पार्टनरशिप्स जो हैं सिर्फ इकोनॉमिक्स पे बेस्ड हैं, ट्रेड पे बेस्ड है, मुस्लिम ब्रदरहुड पे बेस्ड है, support of de-dollarization पे based है, and all of those things. So if you look at the strategic calculation of that region, Russia और China को कोई direct as such benefit नहीं मिल रहा है. They are sort of indirectly benefiting from the US getting involved in another conflict, as this sort of distracts the US from its focus on Ukraine and the Indo-Pacific region, जो important है Russia and China के लिए respectively. And this would also create internal problems for the US leadership. So they are happy कि भाई ठीक है, यूएस जो है फंसा हुआ भसड़ में, यूएस को फंसे रहने दो, हम अपना जो है मस्ती से अपना एजेंडा फॉरवर्ड करते हैं. सो वही बात है कि ईरान इज नाउ इन अ डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन. उनके जो रीजनल एलाइज हैं वो काफ़ी वीक हो गए हैं. चाहे आप हिजबुल्ला की बात करो, चाहे आप हूथीज की बात करो, चाहे आप गाजा की बात करो, this is now more of a strategic isolation which is very obvious now. And अब ईरान को इंश्योर करना है कि how it would proceed and how it would navigate its whole nuclear becoming a nuclear powered nation story. So yeah, that is what this article talks about. You can read this up. It's interesting. It's not something which we have not discussed, but it's interesting. On the left hand side, the article says cause and effect. Government must uphold human rights in citizenship cases. Now, यहाँ पे बात हो रही है प्राइमरली नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स की एंड उससे रिलेटेड जो उनकी सिटीजनशिप कंट्रोवर्सीज चलती रहती है स्पेशली बॉर्डर स्टेट्स में. सो यहाँ पे दो इंपॉर्टेंट केसेस की बात हुई है, स्पेसिफिक केसेस की. एक असम का केस है. द लेडी इज कॉल्ड जैना बीबी and she was declared a foreigner by a tribunal in Assam, foreigners tribunal करके है एक असम में, and later also by Guwahati High Court. And this happened even though she had family roots in Assam, she also had valid documents. And Supreme Court ने उनके deportation पे stay लगा दिया and it stopped the government from taking any action till the next hearing happens in August. Deportation मतलब अपने जो भी उनका देश है वहाँ वापस भेज देना. So it could be Bangladesh, could be any other country, wherever she is from. And the second case is of another lady called Rakshanda Rashid, who's from Jammu and Kashmir, who's a Pakistani national who has lived in the city of Jammu for 38 years with her family. And after the Pahalgam incident happened, Jammu and Kashmir High Court ordered her to return to India, saying that human rights must come first, even before these legal arguments happen. So वही बात है, अगर आप लीगल एंड पॉलिटिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट इसका देखो तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ असम्स प्रैक्टिस ऑफ labeling people as foreigners has come to light, and this also puts into perspective the CAA, which created a lot of controversy back then, Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, जो citizenship offer करता है to non-Muslim communities from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Muslims के लिए critics used to say that this is a little biased and exclusionary in nature, and कुछ political leaders के भी इस पे बयान आए थे, जैसे योगी जी का, हेमंत बिस्वा शर्मा का, where they said that this is a rhetoric against minorities, and this is sort of creating fear amongst poor and undocumented communities. But if you look at the bigger picture, these cases sort of show how these vulnerable groups have been fighting these long legal battles to prove their identity, to prove their rights, to prove their residence in India. And that is what this article is trying to say, that human rights should not only be protected, government should go a step ahead to protect their dignity and to deliver justice to them as promised under the law, and that should be upheld. Okay, that is about this article. Moving ahead, enabling voting rights for migrants. Now, this is specific to the scenario of Bihar, and how people in Bihar, how migrants in Bihar are or may miss their voting rights. So Bihar का scene क्या है? We all know that Bihar has a lot of people who move out to different states in search of opportunities, which makes Bihar as the state which has one of the highest numbers of migrant workers. But now Bihar is going into elections, and many migrants would miss their voting, just like the 2024 national elections, जहाँ पे बिहार का अगर वोटर टर्नआउट देखा जाए तो it was just 56%, and country का average was 66%. So there's quite a big divide, right? And why can't so many people vote? That's because half of Bihar's households have at least one migrant worker, which is who is working in some other state. It could be Delhi, it could be Punjab, it could be Kerala, anywhere. And most of these migrants are working far from home and are unable to return to home just for casting their vote, because it involves a lot of travel cost. It involves them losing out on their pay. Most of them are daily wage workers, and this sort of is a problem. So the article explores what can be possible solutions for this. So they are saying that we could come up with an idea of remote voting machines, RVMs, where voting can be handled from multiple constituencies. इसका एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट किया गया था 2023 में, लेकिन काफ़ी सारे लोगों ने कंसर्न रेज किया कि ये सिक्योरिटी ब्रीच हो सकता है, वेरिफिकेशन इश्यूज हैं, लॉजिस्टिकल इश्यूज हैं, एंड इफ यू डू इट ऑन अ नेशनल लेवल दिस बिकम्स वेरी वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स, अगर आप लोकसभा इलेक्शंस की बात करो. अनदर सॉल्यूशन विच द आर्टिकल प्रपोजेस इज पोस्टल बैलेट्स, कि आप चिट्ठी डाल दो, पोस्ट डाल दो अपना वोट. एंड दिस वुड ऑब्वियसली नीड अर्ली रजिस्ट्रेशन एंड अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग लॉजिस्टिकल सिस्टम, जिससे कोई गड़बड़ ना हो. This is much easier than using RVMs, but still a very big administrative task in itself. And the third possible solution could be switching the voting constituencies, कि आप अपना जो लॉन्ग टर्म माइग्रेंट्स हैं वो अपना वोटर रजिस्ट्रेशन, अपना प्लेस ऑफ रेसिडेंस चेंज करके जहाँ पे वो काम कर रहे हैं वहाँ से वोट डाल दें. एंड दैट कुड एटलीस्ट गिव देम अ से इन द लोकल पॉलिटिक्स एंड हेल्प कास्टिंग अ वॉइस फॉर देमसेल्व्स. एंड इसमें जो है लोकल रेसिडेंट्स की तरफ से थोड़ा सा बैकलैश आ सकता है, तो इसको थोड़ा सा प्लानिंग से करना पड़ेगा. एंड या दैट इज व्हाट इट इज, राइट. दे हैव गिवन मल्टीपल अदर सजेशंस की जो पोलिंग डे हॉलीडेज हैं उनको और स्ट्रिक्ट किया जाए, ताकि जो शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस माइग्रेंट वर्कर्स हैं वो वोट डालने आ सकें. ट्रांसपोर्ट सर्विसेज चलाई जाए पोलिंग वाले डेज के लिए, रजिस्ट्रेशन ड्राइव चलाए जाए विमेन माइग्रेंट्स के लिए. And we sort of come up with a mixed approach जहाँ पे we use all of these solutions and try to ensure that a lot of these migrant workers can participate in the biggest event of democracy, which is voting. And that is what this article tells us: different mechanisms and a mixed approach. Okay, moving ahead, this one is not that important for us. Liver disease data, can skip this. Should the method of counting caste change? Now, this is also an interesting article. चलो इसमें देखते हैं क्या है, what exactly is this about. So, I think this article talks about India का जो caste enumeration होने वाला है in the next census in 2027. उसमें how would this caste census work out? सबसे पहले how does census work out? Multiple phases में होता है census. पहले houses की listing करी जाती है, हाउसेस का रिकॉर्ड निकाला जाता है एंड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स डिफाइन किए जाते हैं, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, टॉयलेट्स, वाटर सप्लाई. एंड इन द सेकंड फेज यू एनुमरेट द पॉपुलेशन, यू कलेक्ट डेटा अबाउट एज, जेंडर, लिटरेसी, वर्क एंड नाउ कास्ट एज वेल. बट वाई आर वी इंक्लूडिंग कास्ट इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेंसस? बिकॉज जो लास्ट हमारे पास डेटा है कास्ट सेंसस का वो किस ईयर का है? When was the last caste census on a national level conducted in India? आप लोग मुझे चैट बॉक्स में ईयर बताओ, बिकॉज मैं आप लोगों को बहुत बार ईयर बता चुका हूँ. सो गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग कि कास्ट डेटा हमारे पास है नहीं. कास्ट डेटा नहीं होगा तो हम मीनिंगफुल पॉलिसीज कैसे बनाएंगे, चेंजेस कैसे लाएंगे, हाउ विल वी ब्रिंग दीज मार्जिनलाइज्ड कम्युनिटीज इनटू द मेन स्ट्रीम जब हमारे पास डेटा ही नहीं होगा. लेकिन देयर आर सम प्रॉब्लम्स विद द करंट डिजाइन ऑफ हाउ सेंसस इज ऑपरेटेड. कास्ट क्वेश्चन जो है सिर्फ शेड्यूल कास्ट की बात नहीं करता, और भी बहुत सारे कास्ट की एनुमरेशन करनी है हमें. And it's important that we look at social indicators like employment status, education, housing quality, and see how they are designed, how they are linked or not linked to caste. Are they outdated? Are they reliable? Are they unreliable? All of these things have to be looked at. And employment वाला question जो है काफ़ी वेग हो सकता है, क्योंकि हमारे पास अच्छा employment data अभी तक नहीं है 1980s के बाद से. सिमिलरली जो चाइल्ड बर्थ और सर्वाइवल के क्वेश्चंस हैं वो हेल्थ सर्वे से हमें बेटर रिपोर्ट्स मिलते हैं एज कम्पेयर टू अ नेशनल सेंसस. माइग्रेशन डेटा कई बार लोग एक्यूरेट नहीं इन्फॉर्म करते कि कितने माइग्रेंट्स हैं. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स नीड टू चेंज. एंड वी are not going to just record the caste status for the scheduled caste. We are also going to record all castes which are available, be it the OBCs, be it the STs, and we need to restructure our questions. We need to move from housing related questions to more of the population related questions, because this 6 से लेके 9-10 months का जो gap आ जाता है between the house related questions and the population वाला phase, उसमें काफ़ी एरर्स आ जाते हैं, उसमें लिंक करना डेटा काफ़ी मुश्किल हो जाता है. एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट इज़ अ प्रॉब्लम विच वी नीड टू सॉल्व. एंड जो आउटडेटेड क्वेश्चंस हैं वो हमें हटाने चाहिए, जैसे कितने लोग मोबाइल यूज़ करते हैं, कितने लोग कंप्यूटर यूज़ करते हैं, कितने लोगों के पास बैंक अकाउंट है. अब उतना ज़्यादा ज़रूरत नहीं रही है इन चीज़ों की, बिकॉज ऑलमोस्ट 90% से ज़्यादा लोगों के पास मोबाइल और बैंक अकाउंट पहुँच चुका है. सो वी नीड टू हैव अ सेंसस विच इज़ एक्यूरेट टू द पॉइंट, lean, and has more pinpointed questions, and it is less of a burden on the people who are conducting this particular census. And we need to get the right data. अगर हमारे पास राइट डेटा होगा तभी हम अच्छे से पॉलिसीज बना पाएंगे. कितने लोग बैकवर्ड कास्ट के हैं, कितने लोग लिटरेसी कितनी है कहाँ पे, कितने लोगों के पास एक्सेस टू इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है, कितने लोग कच्चे घर में रह रहे हैं, कितने लोग पक्के घर में रह रहे हैं. all of those things. So, although this is a historical step, counting caste in this census, this has to be done in a meaningful manner. This has to be implemented in a very smart and a connected manner so that real progress can actually happen for the underprivileged. And that is what this article explores. Okay, moving ahead. This voices from the margins. This is not important. Pilgrims visit Mount Kailash Mansarovar after 6 year wait. सो जब ये गलवान वैली वाला इंसिडेंट हुआ तब से कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा रोक दी गई. उससे पहले कोविड था तो एक साल वहाँ नहीं हुई. बट या ऑल इन ऑल 6 साल के बाद दिस कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा हैज स्टार्टेड टू द कैलाश पर्वत व्हिच इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी अ holy site for not just Hindus but also Tibetans, also for other communities. And this passage goes from multiple places. There's also a pass in Himachal Pradesh. There's one pass in Uttarakhand. There's one pass which goes through Sikkim. So there are multiple routes through which you can enter Tibet and take up this Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which has now been allowed by China after the two leaders, after Xi Jinping and Modi ji met in the BRICS summit, which happened in Kazan. So yeah, this Mount Kailash as well as Mount Mansarovar Lake are in Tibet and China, and yeah, this was located at a height of 18,000 feet in the Tibetan Himalayas. And mostly लोग वहाँ जाके करते क्या हैं, वहाँ जाके लोग परिक्रमा करते हैं माउंट कैलाश की. परिक्रमा को इंग्लिश में सरकम एम्बुलेशन कहते हैं. एंड देन वो एक डुबकी लेते हैं इन द मानसरोवर लेक. वहाँ पे दो लेक्स हैं, मानसरोवर लेक है, एक और लेक है जिस कॉल्ड एज द राक्षस ताल. काफ़ी फैसिनेटिंग जगह है. काफ़ी मिस्टिकल जगह भी काफ़ी लोग कहते हैं उसको. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कॉन्स्पिरेसी थ्योरीज, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ mythical and mystical stories about that place. If you guys go down that rabbit hole, आप पढ़ोगे कि some people have reported कि उनके nails बहुत तेजी से बढ़ने लगते हैं वहाँ पे. Some people report that they feel very light. Some people report that they feel very warm or cold. And it is claimed that only very few people have actually reached the top of Mount Kailash. They've ascended the mountain, which is said to be the abode of Lord Shiva and Parvati. So yeah, pretty interesting to study about it. So अब ये जो है यात्रा स्टार्ट हो गई है एंड 15 जो है ग्रुप्स ऑफ पिलग्रिम्स आर गोइंग टू मेक दिस जर्नी. एंड two important paths through which they would go is either the Nathula Pass, which is in Sikkim, or the Lipu Lake Pass, which is in Uttarakhand, which is a little longer and more difficult of a route. And this is a journey which sort of covers 3,000 kilometers from Gangtok, which is the capital of Sikkim, and back. So this would be including, of course, doctors, cooks, and the whole barrage which they would take for a successful yatra. And Ministry of External Affairs and Chinese authorities साथ में cooperate कर रहे हैं for this yatra to be conducted successfully. तो इसके लिए they are bringing up measures which eases down visa and tourism routes. And this is sort of being seen as a step to revive the economic and business ties between the two countries. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much it about the news. Let's see what else do we have. Class 10 students get options of 2 exams. ये सारे changes मेरे टाइम पे क्यों नहीं हो रहे थे मुझे नहीं पता. But ठीक है, good for the guys who are going to appear for the class 10th exams. 2 बार मौके मिलेंगे उनको. Okay, what else is important? This is again statements regarding the emergency. Not important for us. Shukla's Space Odyssey we have already discussed. He's from Lucknow, so Lucknow cheers the city boy. Okay. Here you can see the 4 members of the crew, exam 4. Carrying Rakesh Sharma's legacy forward, say Congress leader of Shukla's mission. Rakesh Sharma was the first cosmonaut in space from India, the first Indian to go to space. Which rocket? The Soyuz T-11 was part of day before yesterday's quiz. So yeah, थोड़ा सा आपको बैकग्राउंड वगैरह आप स्पेस रिलेटेड पता होना चाहिए इंडिया का, क्योंकि इस पर से क्वेश्चन बनने के अच्छे chances. Then business news has nothing important as such, and nothing noteworthy in the world news as well. I think that's about the newspaper for the day, guys. We'll come back to our vocabulary section and see what all do we have. So, okay, done this. done this, we've done this. Okay, Vocab Express. The first word is noisome. Noisome का मतलब होता है being bad for the well-being of your body, नुकसानदेह, toxic, sickly, noxious. Healthy and helpful are antonyms. It's no fun having asthma and living in an area with noisome fog, aka Delhi. Okay, the next word is pause. Pause का मतलब होता है group of people, usually who accompany a person, who go with a person, usually a group of servants, group of employees who wait on a person. So crew, group, suite, जिसको हम दल कहते हैं हिंदी में. That is what pause is. I was surrounded by a pause of photographers. एंड द लास्ट वर्ड इज एवरेज. एवरेज मतलब होता है एकदम पैसे का लोभ, लालच, greed, acquisitiveness, cupidity, extreme greed for wealth and material gain, fulfillment, satisfaction, selflessness are antonyms. Avarice blinds our eyes. पैसा इंसान को, पैसे की भूख इंसान को अंधा बना देती है. And these are the three words for the day. Avarice, greed for wealth, pause is a crew or a group, and noisome means bad for the body or the well-being of the body. And that brings us to the end of today's discussion. प्रियांशी सिंह ब्रिंग बैक फटाफट फैक्ट्स. ओके चलो ठीक है, फटाफट फैक्ट्स को वापस लेके आते हैं धीरे धीरे. Ajinkya saying, do you think that emergency is important in POV of CLAT? It might be because it's a milestone, 50 years हो गए हैं, so it's important to know the facts. काव्य सिंह, व्हाट टू रीड फ्रॉम द स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन. स्पोर्ट्स सेक्शन से हम तभी कुछ पढ़ते हैं जब कुछ मेजर स्पोर्टिंग इवेंट होता है जहाँ पे इधर इंडिया इज अ पार्टी और इंडियन representatives have won something. That is where we sort of look at sports, or if it is a major sporting event of a global scale, like the Olympics, like the FIFA World Cup, like the Cricket World Cup, like the other World Cups, like the Grand Slams in tennis. So those are the things which we look at in the sports section. Baki news we don't. XYG is saying emergency in Israel and Iran conflict, they're important for climate biology. Yes, they are. Absolutely right. Okay, any other questions guys? कल आप लोग एक दो questions मुझसे पूछ रहे थे prep related, but I think I ended the session. So if you have any questions, you can ask today because we have a few minutes of time left for today's session. We ended up a little early today. Any other questions by anyone? If not, then we can call it a day. Legal is very confusing in Prime Mock 13. Okay. Discuss it with your mentors, whoever is teaching you legal. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. And if there's any specific question you need help with, you can obviously get in touch with Ayushi ma'am, or you can also get in touch with me. I don't mind helping out a little as well. Tomorrow's Menti topic is current affairs, Ruchita. Current affairs of the month of June. XYG is saying I'm not able to manage CLAT and boards. See, that's a struggle which all of you are going through. It's not just your problem. And that happens for all the aspirants. What you need to do is try to make a routine in a manner where you devote at least 2 to 3 hours to your CLAT preparation and structure it in chunks. So there's a thing called Pomodoro. You can look it up. Studying in slots of 30 minutes or 25 minutes. That is quite effective. And you can, set your agenda for the day in the morning or the night before. So if I were to go to sleep today, I would decide that these are the 4 or 5 things which I would do tomorrow and just accomplish them. Just keep doing them on a daily basis. One of them could be GK and current affairs. One of them could be, looking at the editorial, attending this session. One of them could be working on your weaknesses. One of them could be practicing questions of LR or Quant. One of them could be solving a reading passage. One of them could be attending your classes. So just depends on your individual schedule and how hectic your school life is. But you have to squeeze in some hours here. You might squeeze in 1 hour before school, 1 hour before bed, 1 hour of leisure time, because this is a phase which won't come back. This is a time where you have to sort of push your boundaries a little. I'm not really a fan of compromising on sleep. I love my sleep as well. But when I was an aspirant, I did that. I even sacrificed my smartphone. I know that's not really feasible for you guys to a great extent because of classes and stuff, but try to minimize distractions as much as possible. And try to squeeze out as much as the time you can for CLAT preparation. Honey's saying, should I stick to Manthan 2.0 for backlog or diversify sources? Once you're done with Manthan 2.0, you can move towards diversification. But yeah, don't go for an overload of GK as well. That is also not recommended. Haru is saying I'm having trouble with GK and how to go deep into the topic. See, it's fairly simple. You'd have to look at past year question papers and try to understand the mindset of the paper setter. What exactly is a consortium person going to test you on? Is it going to be very deep and technical and very complex? No, it's mostly going to be some important information regarding an important piece of news. So if, let's say, we are talking about the Israel and Iran issue, what I as an examiner would expect my student would to know is the historical backdrop. How did this all start? What is the timeline? What is the conflict about? Why is this conflict between these two countries? Which country is supporting which country and why? And what exactly are the events which transpired? Kisne kiske साथ क्या किया? These are the things I would be looking at, and once I start digging deeper, I would find important details which I can note as supplementary details. So if I were to be looking at the exam formation, I need to look at the name of the mission. I need to look at the name of the rocket. I need to look at the four people who went to the mission. I need to look at ISS. So they went to the ISS. So I need to know a little bit about ISS. When was ISS established? Who established ISS? Which are the countries which coordinate the maintenance and the usage of the ISS? So look at the keywords in the news and dig deeper into the keywords. So अगर ISS की बात हुई है, so I would go a little deeper into ISS. If this is the first time an Indian has gone to ISS, I would look at the first time an Indian has done space-related activities. So I would look at Rakesh Sharma and his background. I would look at Kalpana Chawla and her background. I would look at Sunita Williams and her background. That is how I would go about these things, right? You get the point? How you sort of offshoot into different branches and you see कि इससे क्या possible questions बन सकते हैं. Assume yourself to be the paper setter. Assume yourself कि आप CLAT consortium के डैडी हो and you are setting the toughest possible paper for GK. What would you be asked? Which is relevant, but also something which a normal aspirant would not have prepared for. So prepare with that mindset and you would definitely see yourself scoring better. I hope that helps. Okay, how to understand passage fast when in exam in English? See, in a lot of cases, you don't have to understand the passage as a whole. For some questions, you have to. For a lot of questions, you don't have to. So, what I recommend, what I teach usually in my classes on YT when I used to, and now in the batches which I take with CL, I usually tell students to start with the questions first, get an understanding of what exactly are the questions seeking out of the passage. So, one of them would usually be a vocab based question, synonym, antonym, meaning of a word. Those are the simplest ones which I target first. Then you would find a few factual questions, that simple facts picked up from the passage. Key, you know, Eiffel Tower is located in dash. It would not be as easy as that, but it might ask you, as per the passage, where is the Eiffel Tower located? This is just an hypothetical example. Now, you would know that, okay, my passage would be talking about the Eiffel Tower and then it would mention Paris and then I would find the answer, mark this question. So those are factual questions जिसमें आपको critical thinking नहीं लगानी पड़ती. फिर आते हैं आपके क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग वाले क्वेश्चंस. व्हाट इज द ऑथर ट्राइंग टू से, व्हाट इज द ऑथर इन्फरिंग फ्रॉम दिस, व्हाट इज द ऑथर अज्यूमिंग आउट ऑफ दिस, व्हाट इज द ऑथर्स कंक्लूजन, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. These are the ones which are tricky, which need more practice, which need a little more nuanced reading of the passage. So वहाँ पे जो आपके keywords हैं, उन keywords को आप mark कर लो, and passage में जब भी वो keywords आप encounter करो, take a little pause and try to reflect a little on what the author is exactly trying to say. There's a difference between inference, conclusion, author's opinion, author's thoughts on it. So all of those things you need to distinguish between questions. That what exactly is the question asking, and that comes through regular practice. You obviously would not be reading each and every word of the passage slowly and carefully and trying to understand it. What you want to do is skim read the passage as fast as possible and derive the answers to your 4, 5, 6 odd questions and then move past. मुझे अगर कोई रैंडम वर्ड दिखता है पैसेज में, लेट्स से रॉन्डेवू, विच इज अ वर्ड, फैंसी वर्ड, राइट, बट मुझे उसका मीनिंग नहीं पता, तो वुड आई बी स्टक ऑन दैट सेंटेंस ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट रॉन्डेवू मीन्स? नो. If my question is asking me the meaning of the word rendezvous, then sure, I would understand the contextual meaning. But if my 5 questions don't ask me anything about rendezvous, it's none of my concern to understand what rendezvous means, what that sentence means, or even what that paragraph means for that matter. It might be an irrelevant paragraph, right? So don't get stuck on details, don't get stuck on difficult words, don't get stuck on difficult phrases, don't get stuck on fluffy details which are not necessary for answering any question. And yeah, these are the approaches which you practice time and again and you get better at it. Okay. When I have to go for passage, either first or last. I'm assuming you're asking English section has to be attempted in the first or the last. That's completely your call. That depends on your strengths and weaknesses. If you feel that it's a strength for you, sure, start with it. Get a good momentum. If you feel that you feel a little jerky or nervous in that, then keep it in the middle once you have gained some momentum using GK or any other strong suit of yours. So yeah, that's how you go about it. Are you saying Manthan 2.0 enough for GK after newspaper? Dekho, I am personally of the opinion of not making blanket claims कि आप ये कर लो तो that is enough. अब इसके beyond कुछ नहीं आएगा. देखो, I cannot guarantee. ना, I'm not the paper setter. What I can say is once you have comprehensively done resources like Manthan 2.0, and newspaper, and Hindu analysis, there's a good 90 to 95% chance that you would be getting 90% से ज़्यादा questions from those. Now, no one can predict what the questions would be. There might be an obscure question which we did not discuss, thinking this is not relevant, but CLAT might ask it. So 100% guarantee तो मैं नहीं दूंगा आपको, but हाँ 90% guarantee मैं दे सकता हूँ. ठीक है. All right. Haru is saying I will become the daddy of GK, as he said. That's the spirit, my man. All right. That's all for today's pep talk, guys. I hope this was helpful. Keep learning, keep preparing. Take care. I'll see you all tomorrow in tomorrow's analysis session with a Menti quiz on current affairs. So come prepared. Unable to complete full mock. Is changing pattern in mock would be beneficial? Yes, try that out, Gyan. Definitely try that out. चलो ठीक है. Bye bye guys. Take care. टाटा. Good night. शब बखैर.